Ta-da! Welcome back to the class. And today is the second time for North Korean class. Last week I showed the perspective of North Korean regimes. So I defended North Korean regime a bit. But today I will criticize North Korean regime more than last time. So in the beginning, I will introduce about pro-North Koreans in South Korea. Those people are not just peace lovers like me, but there are some people who actually supports North Korean regime in South Korea. Let's see why they have this kind of idea. And we will see the past and the present of North Korea. So there was a collapse of the communist bloc from 1980s and 1990s. So before the collapse of the communist bloc, there was many exchange and trade between North Korea and other communist countries. So not only with Soviet Union and China, but other countries as well. And as a part of Soviet Union, there was a exchange with Estonia as well, right? And do you know Taekwondo? Taekwondo is a Korean martial art, and there are some Taekwondo gym in Tallinn. But those taekwondo gyms actually have the mix of North Korean taekwondo and South Korean taekwondo. It's because North Korean taekwondo was introduced to Estonia first during the Soviet regime, but now South Korean taekwondo also came to Estonia, so it's a mixture of North Korean taekwondo and South Korean taekwondo. Yeah. But after the collapse of the communist bloc, Estonia didn't make any diplomatic relations with North Korea anymore. And also the exchange between Russia and China also reduced. And North Korea also lost many diplomatic relations. Yeah. So let's see how North Korea survived in this situation. And also I will introduce about the human rights condition in North Korea. Probably many of you already know that the human rights conditions in North Korea is not that good, but let's see more in details. And I will also introduce about North Korean refugees or North Korean defectors who escaped to South Korea. So I will show you how is their life in South Korea. And also there are some special refugees or defectors in South Korea as well. Let's see the some unique cases as well. So pro North Koreans in South Korea first. So as I said, they are not just mere peace lovers like me, but they actually how to say support North Korean regimes. So we need to understand about them. Let's see how is their logic. Traditionally, South Korea's progressive camp can be divided into two groups. So one group is National Liberation Group, and another one is People's Democracy Group. But you should know this. This progressive camp doesn't mean the Democratic Party. You know, I told you that there are two big parties in South Korea. So one is Conservative Party and one is Democratic Party. But as I said before, both parties are actually conservative conservative parties, and most of the policies are similar. But only difference is conservative parties does not want to communicate with North Korean regime, but Democratic Party wants to communicate with North Korea. That's the only difference. Yeah, I already shared about it. But there are there is other progressive camp, that when in South Korea. So they are really small parts in South Korea. I usually vote for the progressive camp, but mostly they cannot enter to the parliament. Yeah, sadly. Yeah. By the way, there will be an election in a week, but sadly I cannot vote for that. Uh, for South Koreans who live in foreign countries, we needed to go to the embassy and vote there. But there's no South Korean embassy in Estonia, so I needed to go to to Finland, Helsinki, or Riga, Latvia. But as you know, because of the pandemic situation, the border is closed, so I cannot travel to those countries. So this time, for the first time in my life, I cannot vote. Italy. So progressive camp cannot enter to. I mean, they will have a lower chance of entering parliament. Yeah. Uh, so, anyways, so they can be divided into two groups. So one is National Liberation Group, and another one is People's Democracy Group. So NL Group analyzed the social problems in the perspective of the struggle of small nations against huge nations. So, for example, uh, 그, in South Korean case, South Korea is oppressed by big countries, United States. So that's why South Korea needed to send troops to Vietnam War or Iraq War, because US forced South Korea to send the troops. And also there is a US army in South Korea as well. The evidence that South Korea, small nation, is not actually is not an independent, it's not a true independent country. The situation in Estonia is also same because there are some US army in Estonia as well. But People's Democracy Group, PD Group, analyzed the social problems in the perspective of the struggle of labor against capital. So it is more like basic communist or socialist analyzation. Yeah. So you can see which group is the pro North Korean group in South Korea. So before the democratization in 1987, NL people admired North Korea because officially North Korea was fighting against the imperial, fighting against the U.S. imperialism, and also execution of pro-Japanese collaborators in North Korea also attracted NL people because South Korea re-employed Japanese police collaborators. And also Japan-trained military officers took the power, like Park Chung-hee. So, when my parents entered to university, they entered to university in 1980s. So when they became a freshman, their senior teach them about those ideologies. So when my parents were in high school or in middle school, they didn't know anything about politics. They just thought the military regime is good regime and North Korean people were bad people. But in the university, they meet smart seniors for the first time, and they know how to analyze the world. And because there were not that much information about uh, North Korean situation. So people started to admire North Korea because it seems like North Korea is a cool country which is against the US imperialism. Yeah. That's why back then, before the democratization, many people actually admired North Korea because of its anti-US propaganda. Yeah. But after the democratization, and as the reality of the North Korean situation was revealed to the world, like human rights condition, democracy level, economic situation, most of them were disappointed. So from 90s and 2000s, this NL group, how to say, lost quite much power. Yeah. So these days it's really difficult to find this kind of people in university, and I personally thought there is no people like this actually, but I entered university in 2010, but actually I met some people who has this kind of idea. Yeah. So in the beginning, I somehow like went to protest several protests with them quite much, but as I found the ideological difference with them, yeah, we fought and I don't meet them anymore. Yeah. But still, there are really few people, and their influence in South Korea is really small. But many conservatives believe that the majority of progressive camp, including Democratic Party, still admires North Korea like this. So yeah, many people think like that. Sadly, yeah. Even so, like the supporters of Democratic Party thinks all progressive camps are pro-North Koreans, and supporters of Conservative Party believes that Democratic Party is the supporter of North Korean regime, something like that. That's why our situation is here like this. Okay, let's go to the before and after the collapse of the communist bloc. Before the collapse of the communist bloc, although North Korea did not develop its foreign trade market with other communist states, there were certain amounts of trades which were helpful for the North Korean economy. And North Korea needed help because it is difficult for them to be self-sufficient with little farmland and no natural oil. So when we see the geography of North Korea, North Korea has many mountains. South Korea also have many mountains. So South Korea also doesn't have that much farmland. But in North Korean situation is worse than that, and also it's colder than South Korea. So they have less little farmland, and also they don't have natural oil. So they got those resources from Soviet Union and China. So Soviet Union uh, supplied natural oil and China supplied rice like that. Because for Soviet Union and China, North Korea is also was an important alliance, for the security reason. Yeah. However, as the communist bloc started to collapse from the end of 1980s, the amount of foreign trade in North Korea dramatically dropped. Moreover, the Soviet Union, later Russia, no longer supplied oil without payment. In China, and Russia is not a socialist country anymore officially, right? I mean, and de facto in real life as well. But China is a socialist country, officially. But actually, when we see their economy structure, is a already capitalist country. So China also started to demand the same, like money for their food supply. Um, yeah, and you can see from as we can see from the graph, both imports and exports of North Korean trade has been dropped. And also there was a march of suffering in the middle of 90s. So March of Suffering is the North Korean famine together with the accompanying general economic crisis. Around 330,000 people died during this period. A series of floods and droughts worsened the crisis. The government gave up public the government gave up public distribution system during this period. So because North Korea his socialist country, there was a public distribution system back then, but they stopped this during this period, and until now is same. And most foreigners, including South Koreans, misunderstand the North Korean situation based on this period. So people think that if we go to North Korea, all people are starving, like these poor kids. Yeah. But this time is over at the moment. So if we understand North Korean based on this image, then people tend to think like North Korean regime will be collapsed soon, you know. But it's still the regime is strong, you know. And as North Koreans suffer from the economic crisis, the government could not maintain the ration system. The government officially allowed private markets restrictively. So let's watch the North Korean market. So there is a like public market and private market. So there was a public market all the time, of course, but now private market is also allowed restrictively. So let's see the market of North Korea. This was filmed in 2017.
경제도 달라지고 있다고 합니다. 예전에는 그 불법이었던 장마당이요. 이제 400여 개가 넘게 운영이 되고 있다고 해요. 공식적으로요. 저희가 최근, 아주 정말 최근 북한 장마당 모습을 영상으로 입수했습니다.
진짜?
그거 먼저 함께 보시죠.
(2017년) 영상입니다.
작년이네요.
메뚜기 장마당 같아요. 우리나라 그냥 시골 모습 같아요.
비슷한 것 같은데 재래시장이랑. 예.
오! 자전거가 엄청 새 거야. 라이터?
옛날에도 저랬는데. 응.
저 우리나라 거 아니야? 우리나라 거야, 우리나라 거. 저 우리나라 건데 가스.
야, 리오카도 저렇게 아직도 있구나.
토산물
토산물
시장.
냉장식품.
야, 뭐 저런 것도 챙기고, 야, 발전했다, 야.
마트 같다. 마트인데 마트? 마트야.
여기 USB 파는 거 있어요? USB라고 있어요?
USB?
아닌데.
아니네.
USB 끼우는 거.
USB를 못 알아들어.
By the way, this is a South Korean TV show, and those women, they are North Korean refugees, defectors. Yeah. So in this TV show, they introduce about the life in North Korea. So that's why.
메모리라고 해야 알아들을 것 같아.
메모리 USB 32기짜리 있어요? 얼마예요? 뭐가 그렇게 비싼데?
오, 이거 송이 말투인데?
Yeah. So it's quite similar to Maxima or Prisma. Yeah. And but also there's a various kinds of corruption also appears in the whole society. Entering elite universities, getting a promotion at work, and even escaping from North Korea is often possible with bribes. Yeah. So let's see the testimony from North Korean refugee.
저 같은 경우는 12살 때, 12살 되던 해 그때 봤거든요. 제명은 그거였어요. 탄광에 어느 그 선, 그 구리선, 그 굵은 거를 그걸 이제 몇 메터를 잘라서 중국에 밀수를 해서 팔아버린 거예요. 근데 그 처형에 당했던 그 사람은 한 가정의 가장이었고, 그리고 국가에서는 배급을 안 주고, 그래서 탄광의 일은 해야 되고, 그러니까 이제 가족들은 굶어 죽으니까 그걸 이제 가장으로서 충실한 거죠, 사실은. 그거를 이제 물론 국가의 재정에 손댄 건 맞지만, 근데 총살감이냐라고 했을 땐 전혀 아닌데, 그 군 사람들이 다 나와서 봤었어요. 그리고 가족들도 다 봅니다, 심지어. 이제 저는 이제 공교롭게도 또 그 가족 옆에서 그걸 지켜봤는데, 일단 아내는 그 단두대에 묶여있는 남편 보면서 바로 실신을 했고, 그다음 제 지금 어렴풋이 기억으로는 오누이였는데, 오빠하고 여동생이었던 것 같은데, 여동생은 이제 아버지 울부짖다가 걔도 그 친구도 실신하고, 그다음 단두대 한 명을 묶어놓고 4명이 총을 쏴요. 그래서 연발로 쏴요. 그것도 따다당 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 이렇게 쏘는데
So yeah. So also he mentioned about the public execution. Actually, his his experience had happened during 2000s. So it's already more than 10 years ago. But and also according to the United Nations report about the human rights situation in North Korea, still there is a public execution, but it's much less than before. But anyways, there is a various kinds of corruption like this. Yeah. And how's the economic situation in 2010s? It seems like it overcame the serious poverty during 90s and early 2000s. However, the regime's political oppression toward people is still maintained. But let's see their tall buildings in North Korea. This was filmed in 2017 by Russian tourists. Ryomyeong Street. So yeah, you can see many tall buildings. This street is Ryomyeong Street, and of course it's Pyongyang is in Pyongyang, and Pyongyang is for privileged people. Yeah. This tower says, our supreme leader Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il is always with us. So yeah, obviously there are more tall buildings than in Tallinn. Yeah. And also let's see the Pyongyang subway in 2016. Quite similar to Russian metro or Ukraine metro, I think. Yeah. hmm So yeah, and let's see the human rights conditions. There was a death of an American tourist in 2017. Maybe you know his name, Warmbier. He was a university student, but he was in North Korea as a tourist, and he committed a theft of a propaganda poster. And because of this, he was imprisoned for 1 year. But he was released in 2017, but he was in a state of coma, and he died a week after the release.
Thanks, Ephraim. An American student held in a North Korean prison is back on American soil. Otto Warmbier was convicted in March 2016 for allegedly committing anti-state activity. His punishment? 15 years hard labor. But in a dramatic move, the regime released Warmbier on Tuesday. Tragically, his parents recently discovered that he'd been in a coma for almost a year. George Thomas has that story.
And it is meant for serious patients in serious situations like this one.
Otto Warmbier was rushed to a Cincinnati hospital shortly after arriving from Pyongyang late Tuesday night.
You can see him moved into the hospital.
His nightmare started in March 2016, when North Korea says they caught the 22-year-old trying to steal a propaganda poster from the hotel he was staying at while on a tour of the reclusive nation. A security camera allegedly caught Warmbier in the act. He was arrested and weeks later brought to North Korea's Supreme Court, where he pleaded for mercy.
Please, I have made the worst mistake of my life, but please, act to save me.
But the judge showed no mercy. In a trial that lasted just 1 hour, the native of Ohio was convicted and sentenced to 15 years hard labor.
Please save my life. Please think of my family.
Warmbier's parents hadn't heard from or seen him since he was sentenced and found out just last week that their son had been in a coma for almost a year. The Washington Post reports that Warmbier contracted botulism soon after his trial and never woke up. A senior American official tells the New York Times that Warmbier was repeatedly beaten while in North Korean custody. His parents released a statement saying, "We want the world to know how we and our son have been brutalized and terrorized by the pariah regime in North Korea."
So yeah, as I said, he died right after this. So this enraged Americans so much. So that's why there was a verbal, how to say, insert between North Korean regime and United States government. Yeah, but after a year they even met. But yeah. And also there was assassination of Kim Jong-nam in 2017. Kim Jong-nam is the stepbrother of Kim Jong-un. And Kim Jong-nam is the eldest son of Kim Jong-il. Yeah. But actually, so as I said, Kim Jong-un is a like third son, you know. There's two older brothers. So one is Kim Jong-nam and one is, what was his name? I don't know. I forgot the second one's name. But second one does not have the willingness toward the power, so didn't show any interest toward the power. First one, Kim Jong-nam, actually he somewhat wanted to have the power. Kim Jong-nam was the one who somewhat wants to open North Korea. That's why he was not chosen by Kim Jong-il, his father. Yeah. And Kim Jong-un eventually killed his brother because I think for Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-nam is a kind of risk. Yeah. And he was killed in Malaysia with toxic powder.
walking casually through the terminal. A crucial moment in a disturbing murder mystery. Watch this woman's hands. She reaches up to attack a man believed to be Kim Jong-un's older half-brother. This is surveillance footage from inside Kuala Lumpur's airport. Moments earlier, Kim Jong-nam is seen walking casually through the terminal. He stops briefly, seemingly to check the departure boards. As he moves into a line, the woman comes up from behind him and grabs his face. There's a very brief struggle.
You'll notice that as soon as she does this, she does her activity and then gets out of there and disappears into the crowd. That's very smart. Doesn't give the victim a chance to respond.
According to police, before he died, Kim Jong-nam said his face had been wiped with a liquid and that he felt dizzy. He said that 2 women were involved, although from the video, it's hard to see if there's a second person.
What do you make of the assertion of one of the suspects that she thought she was participating in a TV reality gag?
These people were obviously trained. This is a very professional, very quick movement, and then they're gone. If this was truly a prank or these were amateurs, they would have stuck around, they would have fumbled, but they didn't do that.
So yeah, those 2 females who killed Kim Jong-nam are from, one is from Vietnam and one is from Indonesia. And 4 North Korean men who ordered those women to do this actually escaped to North Korea right after the assassination. So Malaysian police couldn't catch them, but Malaysian police was able to arrest Indonesian woman and Vietnamese woman. And those 2 women said they thought it's a TV show prank, something like that. Yeah, those 2 were found. There was a court decision. I mean court process, for those 2 women, but actually the court did not sentence any conclusion about those 2 women, and those 2 women were released last year, both of them. And also, let's see the human rights conditions. Yeah, and it's difficult to find about the reliable source about the human rights condition in North Korea. So I decided to use the material from United Nations. Of course, some people think United Nations is also biased. I also think so, but still it's the most reliable source. So I also uploaded some reports which was published in 2019, and based on those reports I will introduce some human rights conditions. Yeah. So there's a public distribution system only for privileged people. The government guarantees the public distribution system only to a certain key professions. Others have to find a way of earning a living, while they also work in a state-assigned employment where salaries are insufficient to meet basic needs. So officially they are socialist country. So they force their people to work like socialist country. The thing is, if they give enough salaries for them, it's not that problematic, but their salaries are not enough for that. But it's mandatory for them to work in this state-assigned field. So that's why people started to do other stuffs, mostly selling and buying stuffs. So that's why the private market started to develop in North Korea. And most of the people who work in this private market are women, because also there are many housewives in North Korea. So those housewives do not have the duty for the state assigned work. So that's why they were able to work for family. And also there's effects of sanctions. Restrictions on the import of fuel, machinery, etc. affects the agricultural production. So it worsens the life of people. And also the restrictions on import of medical equipment also worsen the medical environment. So the sanctions by United Nations or United States or other countries actually don't affect the life of Kim Jong-un, but affect the life of people in North Korea. And also there's a surveillance over the population persists, and the population fears arbitrary arrest and mistreatment, including detention in political prison. This arbitrary arrest is important because North Koreans randomly got the punishment for their wrong thing. For example, if the one watch South Korean movies or dramas and they were caught, if they are lucky, they just will be scolded and just get the warning for that. But if they are not lucky, they even can get more serious punishment. So this kind of like arbitrary punishment is the most problematic thing in North Korea. So they don't follow the due process mostly. And also there is a torture often in political prison as well. Although the number of public executions has decreased, they still occur, as I said. And also there's a discrimination based on 성분. 성분 means origin, and it classifies people on the basis of state-assigned social class and birth, and also includes consideration of political opinions and religion. So if one is from, how to say, if the one of the family member escape to South Korea, let's say like that, then this family will get the like lower 성분 class. And if one of my grandfather was a independent activist during the Japanese colonial period, then I will get the higher 성분 class. So based on this 성분 system, there is a many discrimination. So 성분 system determines where individuals can live and how individuals are allowed to live. So it affects accommodation, occupations, education, and even spouse. So the base of the socialism or communism is the equality, but weirdly they have this kind of caste system. Yeah. And also there were many abductions and enforced disappearances from other countries. Over 200,000 people who were brought from other countries to North Korea may have become victims of enforced disappearance. The vast majority of abduction and enforced disappearances are linked to the Korean War and the organized movement of ethnic Koreans from Japan that started in 1959. However, hundreds of South Koreans, Japanese, and other nationals were also abducted and disappeared between 1960s and 1980s. So one of the problem between Japan and North Korea is this, because there are some Japanese who were abducted to North Korea. Japan claims that they need to return those people, but North Korea of course says they never abducted any people. I will continue the class from next video.